will join us. All right. Thank you, Deborah. You know, the light didn't come on.
It's recording.
Oh, it is. I see it now.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
And you're the host.
I'm the host. Okay,
Yep.
good. All right.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deb.
All right, so we have two new people here, three guests today. Full house. We're still waiting for one of our members, and we have one who can't make it because he doesn't feel well. Let me introduce myself first. I met John. I'm Eileen Heinig. I'm chair of the Open Space Committee. I met you, John, at the Parks Meet and Greet.
Yes.
6 weeks or so ago.
Yes.
And Bob, I have not met. Thank you for coming, Bob.
I'm happy to be here.
You know, I actually put you on the agenda, but I didn't, I was just at the Concom meeting, and when you were there, I thought, oh, well, I should have invited you, but I didn't. I just put you on the agenda to tell people that we had a new community economic development director. And
I can help you with that.
Yeah, all right, so here you are. So thank you so much for showing up uninvited. So I think what I'll do is, I had you on the agenda kind of way at the bottom, just as new business, but at some point, I'd like to wait for Maureen to get on and then have you introduce yourself, because I assume you don't want to sit through the whole meeting, although you're certainly welcome to if you would like to.
It's whatever works for you and the rest of the members.
All right. All right. I'm just texting Maureen. I know she has trouble with the link sometimes. All right. So let's start the meeting. It is 7:05, and we do have a quorum. The meeting minutes. I sent them, Deborah sent them out with the agenda, December 15th draft minutes. Does anybody have any comments or questions about those? And if not, would someone like to move to approve them? Nicole, it looks like you're reading. Oh, okay, all right, here. I don't see, I don't see the waiting room. Where's the waiting room? Usually it's right up. Gallery, hard surface, speaker.
If you click on participants, it should show you who you've let in and then who's in the waiting room.
Right, that's right. There we go. All right, thank you. Oh, but it's, Maureen said she is in the waiting room, but she's not. Well, all right, well, let's just continue on and.
Got it.
Okay, all right, we have Pat and Melissa too. All right, a motion to approve the minutes. Lauren or Nicole, with one of you.
Actually, I don't see them. What date were they sent out?
They were sent out with the notice of meeting that Deborah sent out on Friday. You didn't get a meeting, Nicole?
That's what I was looking for too. I did not receive.
All right, well, you know
I don't
what, let's-
receive any messages from Deborah. Ever, so I just get
online and yeah.
go
Yeah,
online.
she was since Josh has been out, Deborah was sending it out, but well, that's odd. I mean, I got it from her and it looked like she had copied all of you, but. All right, well, let's just forget about the minutes. We will take those up at the next meeting. All right, public comment, we will be talking about some issues that I know members of the public are interested in later on. Is there anybody who wants to make any public comment unrelated to anything that's otherwise listed on the agenda? Nope. All right. Okay. So, what I was gonna do was, jump right into Wyman Meadows, and Owen Gray from Wildlands Trust is going to be talking about that. But Bob, I did want to give you a chance to introduce yourself now, if you want to do that.
Sure, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Bob Rulli. I am the privileged to be the new Director of Community and Economic Development for the town. Most recently, I was the Director of Planning and Community Development in Warren, Rhode Island. Was there for 5.5 years. Had a big focus on sea level rise and climate change. Warren is 7 feet above sea level on average, surrounded by water. Was been recognized nationally and spoken nationally on that topic, but also a leader in the development of mixed income housing and economic revitalization. I'm very excited to be in Bridgewater. I went to school in Bridgewater 40 plus years ago, so this is kind of the full circle of my career. I was there when it was a college of 3,000 people, and now it's something more than that. But my conversations leading up to me accepting this position, began with Kimberly and Michael, and then with Peter and Eric, and then some other members of different committees. And I appreciated the fact that they wanted someone that was a visionary and could think out of the box and could communicate with the public. And I know that the council and the manager have a focus on revitalizing downtown and seeing what more we can do in the central business district. It's always been my philosophy that the more that we can do where we already have development, have infrastructure, takes pressure from development off of those areas that we want to preserve as either recreational or open space. What I found in my career is education is a very big part of us being successful, and that's not in a demeaning way, but just connecting the dots for people in terms of how development works, what the economics of development are, but also if you relieve pressure from one area, then you can preserve other areas. That's something that we were doing in Warren. We had a large section of town that didn't have infrastructure, was very agricultural and rural. We concentrated development in an area that was a state highway. And, I think there's a lot of similarities to Bridgewater, to what I was doing in Warren. The opportunity to be in a university town is super exciting for me. I've worked with university students throughout my time in Warren, both with URI, Roger Williams, as well as Rhode Island School of Design. I think there's a lot more that the town can do with the university, both with students as well as the institution itself. And, I know we're going to take some steps in that direction, but I'm here to support what you all do. I appreciate the fact that you all do this on your own time, that you're volunteers. And my office and myself are here to support those efforts. So, I welcome you to pick up the phone or stop by the office and have a conversation. Reach out to me if there are things that you think I can be of assistance on. I'm pretty successful as a grant writer. In Warren, I averaged about $7 million a year in federal funding for a community that had an annual budget of $12 million. So already looking at 3 different grants that we're submitting for Bridgewater, and this is the end of day 7. So I'm going to hit the ground running, and just thank you for letting me take a few minutes of your meeting.
Well, yeah, we thank you. It's good to have you here, and sounds like you've done a lot of exciting things, and look forward
With more to come.
seeing you do them here.
That's the plan.
Yeah. All right. Does anybody have any questions for Bob? Oh, okay. All right. So,
Thanks, Eileen.
Just welcome. Yeah, welcome. Nice to meet you.
Likewise.
yeah, and we have not had the Community Economic Development Director coming to our meeting regularly, and I expect that you won't be going to all meetings regularly either, but I really appreciate your coming and introducing yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say this. I mean, I would like to receive your meeting agendas. I mean, if there is something, that I think, I can opine on, or if there's things that you think I can assist on, then, I'm certainly welcome the opportunity to participate. So, I'm a resource to you as boards, but also to residents and businesses as well.
all right, good. Okay, So we will move on to our first order under old business, which is the Wyman Meadows property. And both for John's benefit and Bob's. If he's, if he stays on here, he's still there. Let me just give you a little bit of background, because our committee is pretty familiar with, this is one of the properties that the NRTB, Natural Resources Trust of Bridgewater, worked on and came up with a development plan 4 years ago after the town acquired it in 1999. A 30-acre parcel for open space, or 35, and then the 20-acre parcel next to it for water conservation. And as you all know, that's kind of the sad history of the town parklands, is that they've been very neglected. This one especially, I don't think most people even knew it existed after the first year or so. There was a kiosk put up for a while, and there was a trail that went out there, or a road rather. And then it was neglected, and the water department had work to do there. They put in a new well and they paved the road, and it was really completely forgotten as a parkland. And when I became open space committee chair, I don't know, I guess it's 3 years ago now. I don't remember how exactly I got working with Wildlands Trust. I think it was at Hanson Farms is the first project we started talking to them about. And two of the people from Wildlands Trust were here in town for a meeting on Hanson's farm once, and we went out to Wyman Meadows because I had seen that they had property adjacent to the town's land, and had no access to it. So we just started talking about the potential for us to work together, for us, the town's land to be used to provide access to Wildlands Trust, recognizing that the town had some significant restrictions on what we can do with our own conservation land because of the wellhead protection area setbacks. So we're a little bit limited on developing that 35-acre parcel for the town use as conservation land, but joining with Wildlands Trust, I think we have a kind of an exciting project here. So with that, I'm going to let Owen Gray speak to you. Owen is with Wildlands Trust. I don't remember your title, Owen. You can tell us what your title is and what you do exactly, and take it from there. And let me know when you're ready to share screen.
I'll share right now.
Okay, all right. So I have to make you I have to make you a co-host, right? Yeah.
I think so. Well, hi, everybody. I guess technically I'm the stewardship manager at Wildlands Trust, but we all more or less do the same thing over here in stewardship. So it's a lot of time.
I should remind people too that we had Mitch Hennings, who spoke about this project for Wildlands Trust, and Mitch has moved on. He's taken another job. I guess he's gone into physical therapy. And all right, I'm not having any success on this. I guess I've taken too long a hiatus from. Where do I go to get you to make you co-host?
Go to participants.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah,
and then,
Click on his name,
oh, click on his, okay, click on.
and then you
there's-
can make him a co-host.
Oh, there you are. Up in the little dots, I got it. Okay, here we go. All right. Okay,
There we go. All right. Can everybody see this?
Yep.
Yep. All right. So we're looking at just a zoomed out map of the red outline is Wyman Meadow, and in green is our preserve, Wildlands Trust North Fork Preserve. Our property is about 41 acres, and down here where the property lines go is the Taunton River. It's a beautiful spot. We've never really had much public access out to our property. Go there once or twice a year to make sure that no neighbors are starting fires or cutting trees down on it, but we're really hoping that we can put something together here that will put some access into these two properties. So this, I believe did you guys go over this at your last meeting, Eileen?
Go ahead and do it again, because John wasn't here.
Okay, I'm gonna do this at the end of, I put
Oh,
that in the
okay.
wrong place. Okay, so up in this map, we've got these 2 points. These are kind of the issues that we need to address for a trail to go through here. So where this trail begins on Wyman Meadow is going to be hopefully the parking lot. So it's where you can park now. You can kind of just barely get your car off the road if you want to pull in, but then there is a, I don't know what, driveway almost around an island of invasive plants that you could drive around. So we'd like the trail to start at that spot and then just cut directly across the field. But there are some pretty wet spots in this field. So this first, the blue vector point closest to the parking lot, that looks like this. And you can see there's sign of a trail that's being used by somebody. I'm not sure who, but we'd like to send it right through this spot. So we're thinking bog boards should suffice for that. Initially, I was thinking a span bridge, Eileen.
Uh-huh.
I think when we last spoke, which was yesterday, so I changed my mind quite a bit of what we're capable of.
Okay.
But I think just for the sake of not putting $1,000 into a bridge, bog boards will be just fine. And I'll show you. So bog boards are these structures right here. They're very simple.
Okay.
4x4s on the ground with 2x8s on top of them. And only 22 feet there is, we estimate, $167 to get this first water crossing done. And there's just one other spot that we'll need to hit. So that's the second vector point, and that's only 12 feet. But you can see why we need some sort of water crossing there. It's a little muddy, and we don't want that. So 12 feet of these bog boards should work. Be $66, but that could change because few things are fluctuating as much as lumber these days. So our plan, our hope is to tackle those water crossings and build a trail that goes around the perimeter of North Fork Preserve. And you can see down at this spot, have a little spur here that I don't know if we'd maybe do a viewing platform one day if money came our way from a grant, or just put a nice bench there. But it'll be a great place to view the river. And I think that this could be a pretty nice neighborhood style preserve if we got some access going. One thing, I guess just another expense, you'll know this. So the parking area, these are some old photos from last winter. I think it would be good to mow this kind of island in the middle. There's a lot of just nastiness. So we could mow that down pretty easily. And then block this with a split rail fence so that nobody can drive around. You can tell that somebody's been using this. Last time we were out, Eileen, somebody's mowing it and almost keeping it like a driveway. So something in the area of 80 feet split rail fence across this should work for keeping that blocked off. I think we can leave this surface as is. We don't need to bring in dense grade or anything like that unless people start tearing it up, which hopefully they won't. That's what the split rail would look like. So I guess all together with the bog boards and the fence, we're looking $630 instead of change for the initial getting this property running. That doesn't include, information for an updated kiosk, property signs. We have signs that we'll put on our property, and anything that doesn't have our logo on it, we'll put on Wyman Meadow. But I know there's talk of putting together, uniform town signs. So this would be a good place. So just up the street, close to Plymouth Street from this spot is where that kiosk is. That would be a great place for some Town of Bridgewater Wildlands Trust signage. But that's what I'm thinking and what Eileen and I have been talking about. I'd love, anybody has any questions about this or wants to know anything, let me know.
Yeah, I know Maureen was out there before, and Michael was too. Nicole and Lauren have not been, I don't think. So if you guys have any questions?
I've been on my own, so, I've been there on my own,
Oh,
so,
that's right,
I
because you
can-
took the photos for the.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, all right. Yeah, so I mean, I think it's pretty clear that the red area, which is the town conservation land, we're really not proposing any use of that other than just to use that strip to provide access to the Wildlands Trust property. Because right up where the Plymouth Street entrance is there's a road, you can just barely see it. And it goes all the way up to the water department building. And John, you just mentioned that somebody opened the fence for you. So this will all take place before you get to the fence. In
Okay,
other words, we don't need to have the fence opened
okay,
to the water department property in order to use this property as we're proposing it now.
right.
You probably have seen that, the kiosk down there. I don't know if you noticed that when you came in.
Yeah, I took down this roof, not the roof, I took down the ceiling of it because the birds were getting in and things like that. And
Oh, okay.
I put a couple old maps up there too from what I found on the town website.
Oh, good.
I've done as much as I can do. I mean,
All right. Yeah, well, that part of this plan is to get information up there, because now what we'll want to do is show it as a trail going out to a joint venture of the Wildlands Trust and the town.
Yeah.
And show where the map, where the trail is going and that sort of thing. And I think you probably heard this, John. I mean, I know you have, is that we're the whole business about signage and wayfinding and branding and all that within the town. It seems like Styles and Hart is probably going to be the lead project for that. That the design will take place as part of the Styles and Hart project, because they will have so much money, and it's going to be such a showcase that whatever the design is to showcase Styles and Hart on the premises ought to be a design that can then be used for the other parklands.
yeah, only makes sense.
Yeah, so that's kind of what we're counting on, is that we're not gonna worry about this particular piece of property, exactly what the signage should start, unless Styles and Hart gets that worked out soon, and maybe they will, I don't know, but for now, we can have something up there temporary, because I hope this can be open, I don't know, I don't think next summer should be too soon. Because Owen, you don't really have to do a lot of clearing, do you? I mean, you've walked through it many times now, I think. Is it pretty well? It can be.
It is. There's some where we're gonna have the trail on this eastern side of North Fork is there's a lot of downed trees that's gonna take us some time to cut through, but it's pretty open back there. And the Wyman trail portion of the trail is just mowing the field.
right. right.
So that it's, I think there shouldn't be any problem getting prepared to go to a, I think the next Concom meeting is February 23rd.
Yes,
Um,
so, all right, now that brings up the other issue that you and I had talked about. And I think that it would be a good idea, and I think this is something we talked about at one of our meetings, or it could be just at the site visit. That there's the group of, there's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 homeowners on, right
Yep.
on Plymouth Street. And we thought it would probably be wise, I think I might have mentioned this to Michael Dutton at one point too, to approach them, give them some notice as to what we're talking about before they just get the notice as a butters for the Concom hearing that will be needed for this. Just so they don't get up in arms, and feel like, there's gonna be, crowds of people coming into up that little road, and which is an easement, it's a town easement, but into
Yeah.
their backyards basically, and that we probably ought to just, I think maybe just a letter from the Open Space Committee, and maybe just from the town. I want to follow up on that. John, I don't know if you have any thoughts about this, but I'd be happy to talk about it with you too. Maybe from you as Parkland Stewards, is that your name, coordinator? Is that your title?
I'm the chief park steward.
Chief Park Steward, okay.
There you
so
go.
that would
That's
be it
my
too.
official title for 13 hours a week.
Yeah. Well, at least you're paid. I'm not a volunteer, so, but anyway, so maybe that's something you and I could talk about, because I'd be interested in getting somebody's feedback on what's the best way to do that. Do we just drop a letter in the mailboxes? We want to, I don't know, knocking on doors these days, I don't think, you never know. what
Right,
happens.
whatever works. Yeah, we
Yeah,
can figure
so,
that out.
I think we ought to do that before we got on the Concom agenda. So.
Yeah.
Oh, and let me do a little talking with people in town and see if I get any feedback, and if not, I think what I would do is just put some kind of a letter together and
Yeah.
just introduce people to what we are proposing, maybe include the map. And then just advise them that there will be public hearing on it.
Mhm.
So that's sort of, and then, but the other step, and John, I think I mentioned this to you, and I know these committee members have heard me say this too. I really want the Public Works Director and the Water Department Director, Jonas, to know what's going on with this. I have copied them before on our site visit. They were invited and they didn't come. But they asked for a map at the time and we didn't really have one, but I just want to make sure that they don't get worked up about it after the fact, that I don't want to get just so far down the line and then find out that they have some concerns that haven't been addressed or that we need to address. And I know that Michael, from what he said, he would talk to them, but I don't think he has. And so I just want to first clarify that with him and make sure that they are aware of it, and whether we need to go out there with them, show them the map or whatever. So those are the 2 preliminary steps that I think I need to do before we actually get on the Concom agenda. But Owen has, tell us what you said. You will put the appropriate drawings, plans, forms, whatever. Owen's been talking to Steve Salvo and the town staff. And you could describe for us what it is that you'll have to do for that.
Yeah, so he's completely supportive of this. He's initially when we spoke, it was about this first water crossing, potentially doing a span bridge, which is a little bit more impactful to the wetland than just the bog boards will be. So I want to revisit it with him, but even for the span bridge, he was only going to require an RDA, which is simple permitting. We need the a butters notice and advertisement in the local newspaper. We go to the Concom meeting and present, and he did not think anybody would have a problem with it. So I'm very optimistic about it.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, sounds good. Was
Yeah.
there anything else you wanted to show us? Owen, is this it?
Not show, but I'd like to just also mention that, you know, I think that this will be, if this does happen and Wyman Meadow becomes this, you know, access point for all this conservation land, it's going to get a lot more use than it has in a long time.
Mhm.
And our stewardship staff is half of our full-time staff here at Wildlands, and we'd be fully capable of managing Wyman Meadows as if it were one of our own preserves, from a public safety, cleanliness standpoint.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's crucial because that, yeah, as we've always said is, you know, the town has not done, now, John is on board now, so maybe things are going to be different. But yeah, the town has a history of neglecting these parklands, so it's good to know that Wildlands Trust will be here in perpetuity, we hope to, because you
Yep.
have other properties in the area that you visit regularly. And
Yep.
so, all right. Okay, here, Maureen is finally here, okay. Hi, Maureen. Okay. So I think, does anybody have any questions about the Wyman Meadows project? John, anything you want to know? Or-
Well, I was gonna actually start heading back there now that it's winter and I have access to the gate, and I was gonna start trying to clear what trails that are there, but I guess I'm gonna lay low until this all happens, and it sounds like is there gonna be any, I imagine there's gonna be river access, I would think, correct?
Yep.
That's a
Yep.
huge
I'm not
part.
sure in what form, but
Yeah.
there will be.
That's a huge part of this, because I've recently talked to well, Kitty, of course, and then I forget the other woman's name. I should know. Is it Monica? Does that sound familiar?
Oh, yeah.
So she told me about the different access points for the river. And she told me about the street off of South Street? At the end of the street,
Sunset.
Oh, she's talking about, yeah, okay, I know where you
Right.
mean, Sunrise Drive, yeah.
Sunrise Drive,
Yeah.
along with this access point, along with, I heard something about Murphy's Landing. These 2 or 3 or 4 access points are gonna be phenomenal for people to be able to get in the river. Because as
Yeah.
we know right now, there's nobody to get in.
Yeah.
So I think this is phenomenal. I think it'll be used all the time. Once,
Yeah.
once we at least get some signs for these parks, that would be nice.
Yeah.
Well, at least on Wildlands Trust land, North Fork is, when you're along the river, it's set high above the river.
Mhm.
So any sort of, you know, paddlecraft access would be difficult. We're kind of envisioning it more as just river viewing.
Mhm.
Access hasn't been considered really for that site.
Okay.
Uh,
Well, the Wyman Meadows, if we work in conjunction with each other, from what I can see, there's great access to the river in Wyman Meadows, right, Eileen?
Yeah, Maureen and I walked down there one time and it took us a while. We got pretty scratched up with the brambles. I can't say we found the trail, but we did find the river.
Yeah, I went to the right. I didn't realize to the right wasn't, when you get up to the pump house and you go to the right, we didn't realize that's really not part of Wyman Meadows, I guess now.
I'm not sure exactly where the property lines are for the wellhead protection areas too.
Yeah.
You know, that's part of what, in fact, we have a blow up of that. I can share with you because when we first went out to look at that, I thought we were going to be able to have a trail going to our property, the town property. But it looked to us that there's not a lot of area available once you have I think it's the 400-foot setbacks to the wells.
Oh, it's that much, huh?
But we also have a draft, this is back from 2003, or this is in our TV plan, and it could be that we're not even sure that the wellheads that were proposed there have both gone in, that, and you and I talked about this, didn't we? I can't remember, you looked it up, didn't you, when you got the wellhead information?
I think it might be down on that part of the property too. I'm looking through my maps and seeing if I have anything saved, but I don't
Okay.
I'm not seeing it.
Well, anyway, we don't need to go through now, John, but
Yeah.
just so you know, that was part of the concern of having a trail basically going up the roadway that the water department
Right.
people.
This is all new to me, so I'm learning.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah,
also
good.
think,
Well, that's why, yeah, I wanted to get you, yeah, to hear this, so. All right, well-
the only other thing I noticed on the mapping is that if we were to try to access the river only through the Wyman property, I believe there might be a stream crossing, so that would be a little more complicated, I think, than the bog bridge for, just a
oh,
little isolated wetland area or something, those small little pocket wetlands that we might be crossing with the bog bridge to go over to the Wildlands Trust property.
yeah.
I'm just looking at Mass Mapper, which does show
Yep.
perennial streams.
Oh, okay, right,
The one kind of towards the property line there.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
like swoops through and down and kind of comes into that little fork in the river, I guess, or the little
Yep.
branch.
yeah, so long-term, John, there may be all sorts of possibilities for the town land
Yeah,
too, but,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
I think if we get this part taken care of, that'll be a big accomplishment. It'll put Wyman Meadows as a town property back on the map too, and,
yeah. No one even knows it's there.
yeah, yeah. All right. Oh, and I think that's it for you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you all for having me. Yeah.
And I will get to the two things that I need to work on is one, and John, I don't know, maybe if you have access to Michael Dutton, you're probably down, you're actually a paid employee, you probably can get right straight through to him.
I've only met him once. I
Oh.
really have not, I have no relationship as of yet. but,
Oh,
I'm
all
generally,
Never mind.
I'm pretty good
You
at,
know, that's right. I remember now, I was having a meeting with him once and I said, I haven't even met the new park steward.
Yeah.
And he said, neither have I.
some people don't even know who I am, but that's
Right,
okay,
right.
So, yeah. I mean,
Eileen,
Yes,
Michael is out until Monday, but I'm happy to, I have a meeting with him on Monday morning. I'm happy to bring this up.
great. I would, yeah, okay. I've asked Steve too, and then I think I sent an email to Dawn today. So asking the same question. So he should get it from all sides, but if you would take the lead on that, that would be great.
I'm happy to do it.
He was,
Thank you.
yeah, because he had said he was, he just wanted to, he would talk to them, but I just can't imagine that they wouldn't want some detail, so. And I just don't wanna, I don't wanna get as far as the Concom or something, and then they say, hey, wait, we didn't, nobody told us, so. Thank you, Bob. All right, let's move on to the next item, actually, there's really nothing to say, Bridgewater State Forest. John, you just might be interested, I don't know if you've ever seen this on a map. It's off of, what's it off of, Nicole? What street?
Water Street,
Water Street,
Yeah. Yeah,
or Water and Summer area.
okay. The only reason we started looking into this is I've seen it, it's on the open space plan, it's listed as an open space parcel, but I didn't know anything about it, we've never seen anything or heard anybody talk about it, it doesn't have any use as far as we know, so I was just curious and I did I made some contacts at the state, which it is state property, but nobody could tell me anything. I called a couple of different offices and we were gonna plan a site visit out there sometime just to walk it and see. I don't know that it matters, other than I just think because it's an open space and it's a forest. It would be nice to know about it and what, just if the state ever has any plans for it in any way. That we're aware of it and anyway, just. Seems like it's worth making sure that it's protected in some way and at least ought to be on our radar, so. Have you walked out there, John?
I've never been out there. I've only ridden by it.
All right, well, maybe we'll take you with us when we get a site visit set up.
Sounds good.
Actually, Michael Sylvia, our other member, he had talked about, I think he was gonna go out there between our last meeting and this one, but he's not here today, so I don't know if he did or not, so. All right. Let's move on to the next item. This is, I put this on here just to let you know that the letter that we approved was not submitted. Because when I went to submit it to the town the day after our meeting, I was told that it was due like 30 days before then or something, and whenever I got the notice that they wanted a letter, I think it was from Michael or Dawn, there was no deadline on it. And so I brought it up to our next meeting, and then they said, oh, well, no, they had just sent it all in that day, so apparently they didn't need it desperately in any case, so. All right, and then the other thing I just wanted to remind you of, and actually Michael Sylvia, I thought maybe would be the person who had a flexible enough schedule to and is new to the committee as well, to possibly join this Massachusetts Open Space Conference. I think somebody, Lauren, I think you listened in to a couple of them last year, didn't you? Or the year before, maybe? Oh, I think you read something. I remember why, because I remember you came back to the meeting and you said it was really useful for you because you realized you kind of understood why we didn't know what we were doing on this committee, because there was no set, every town just sort of has to decide on its own, like what their plan is for open space projects, and that there's, it's nothing that's set out in statute or anything, so. And if anybody has a Thursday from 12 to 1:30 in February, the 2nd, 9th, 16th, and 23rd, it's all online, and it's just, first one is open space and recreation plans from writing to action. And we are going to have to do a new open space plan sometime, I believe, in the next 2 years. Tips and tools for landowner outreach, land conservation and restoration initiatives for climate resiliency. And then the last one is biomap, the latest and greatest. So. All right, that's just an announcement. So now let's move on to John. You're our first order of new business, John. You want to introduce yourself and tell us what is it, 9 hours you're doing?
I do 13 hours a week.
13, oh.
13 hours, and I basically patrol all 6 parks between Titicate, Carvers, Stiles and Hart, the Ironworks, Wyman Meadow. I don't get into as much, in Town Landing. And I started in about April. And basically what I've been doing is I've been into a few of the parks through the years. I've been in town 25 years. Retired firefighter. I guess you guys should know that too. So so I'm basically going to all the parks. I finally got a key to a couple of gates, mainly Titicate, and I'm in the parks at least 2 or 3 times a week. If not just driving by, checking the parking lots, but in the parks, I'm just removing trees and brush. And now's a great time. I'm happy to be out there now because everything's all off the trees and I can clear trails much easier. I work for Jim Small, who's the park commissioner now. And he gives me all the tools I need and any supplies I need. Generally, I'm in my own truck, which is fine. And I'm just out there, I'm maintaining the campsite certificate. I'm trying to keep everything nice and neat. I'm picking up trash. I'm just plugging away. I mean, honestly, after a storm, I get very busy because there's generally trees across trails everywhere. And, it's a long walk into the woods with the saw. And I usually have my big golden retriever with me and maybe a cup of coffee. And so it's a great job. I love it. I've always been a woods kid since I was a kid. I've always grew up in the woods, and I applied it just out on a whim one day. I saw it on the website, and they called me. I was kind of shocked. I thought it was a town job for somebody, lined up, and it wasn't. And I'm having a blast. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, great.
Yep.
Now, do you have to do maintenance things like picking up trash? Or?
Yeah. I take care of I do all the trash. That's basically, I'm doing the trash. I'm raking the parking lots. I'm getting to know the DPW people now when I need something from them.
Okay.
Paul DeCosta, I think, a very nice gentleman. He's been very cooperative. And I'm still getting my feet wet. I mean, there's a lot. It's definitely a lot. It's base trash and brush and clearing trails and saying hi to people. And I got I'm doing some construction stuff too. Some of the kiosks need new shingles and new roofs. So I'm going to do those. Today I was down at Tuckerwood. They have that nice platform out there. A bunch of the slats and the platform are gone. So I was out there with my generator and my chop saw and replacing the wood on the platform. And you know, I've always been a hands-on person, so I
Mhm.
own my own property maintenance company for years, and I used to have a landscape business, yada, yada, yada. So I'm pretty well versed in a lot of these different things. So I've been doing a little bit of everything.
Great, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Needed you for a long time.
I-
So now it sounds like, oh, I'm sorry, Pat, what were you saying?
Wonderful news. I like
Yeah.
that.
Thank you.
John, so it sounds like at some point you would probably be working on like the signage and stuff for all the different parks, like you'd said you'd put up a couple posters down at Wyman Meadows, and do you think that would be part of your duties, or?
I don't necessarily know,
Okay.
honestly, what's what as far as, I mean, I have certainly ideas. I have marketing ideas. I was actually in sales prior to getting on the fire department, so
Uh-huh,
I'm kind of a marketing type of person. I would love to see the public know about the parks, and
Yeah.
I have different ideas on how to do that. I mean, signage, of course, is a huge one, but
Yeah.
I mean, as far as, you know, whether it's doing a BTV, going in the parks and walking, showing people what the parks are like, and Park of the Week, I have ideas, and even
Yeah.
just do a mailer to people's houses, so they
Yeah.
know where these parks are. It's crazy.
yeah, and
But,
as
you
Lauren
know.
suggested, when we were looking for a new a member, she put information on the Bridgewater residence page, I think.
Yep.
And we got 3 applicants for our position on the Open Space Committee, so there's a lot that can be done with social media, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
Yep.
Here's a quick example. I have a small business in town too, and I was at one of my customers' houses, and they just pulled in the driveway with their dogs, and she lived down off of Cross Street. And she said she just came out of the woods with her dogs. I said, "Oh, where'd you go?" I was over at Miles Standish. I said, "Do you know there's a park a half a mile from here?" She didn't even know about it. She's lived in town for over 20 years, and she didn't even know Titicate was there.
yeah.
Like, this is terrible. I mean, whatever, we'll take baby steps. We'll walk before we run and all that stuff, but
Yeah,
it's just crazy amount of people in town that don't know about what we have.
oh,
for
that's absolutely
resources.
true, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I wonder if we should share what Lauren pulled together with the great pamphlet about all of those spaces and how to access them and where to park, and
Yeah, it's,
if anything has been done with that,
Yeah,
because
that's a good idea. Yeah, and it's, yeah, so where was that left? Oh,
We were-
we're waiting for Josh to come back from paternity leave.
to post it on the
to
website, so
post
we
it, yeah.
will
He
have,
did post it in one place, but it's
Oh.
still, it's still not under Parks and Recreation.
right.
At least the last time I looked, it wasn't there.
It's
He-
not, because I check all the time, and we've
Yeah.
mentioned it.
Because
crazy.
he and I talked about that, and well, he did post it under the open space, where Open Space Committee is. There is now a link to all of
Oh, all
that
right.
comp plan information that Lauren worked on, but then when we had one of our meetings, we said it's still, it needs to go under Parks and Recreation, because I don't think someone looking for a park is gonna go to open space when there's a Parks and Recreation title on much more prominent on the Facebook, on the town website, I mean. That's where it needs to be. And there's other places it probably ought to be as well, but yeah, that's still, Josh, do you know Josh in the town? No, you probably don't, John. He's in. the-
No, I don't.
Anyway, he was supposed to be working on it, and I thought he would actually do, he would look at a couple of other places. We had talked and here that maybe we need to find some other places for him. That if we think of other places that it should be posted, links, then that might be useful, so. for us to see.
Eileen, I apologize, could I jump in for a second?
Yes, please do.
I mean, Kimberly Williams, who's the assistant town clerk, is kind of our social media guru.
Mhm.
And I'll speak to her because, I think this is, one of the things that she likes to challenge and tease people with respect to all the great things there are in Bridgewater that people don't know about. So, she might be able to do something around this. And then, I
Okay.
can also speak to her about, getting the brochure you're talking about, on a little bit more prominent location on the town's website.
Okay, all right, thank you.
If I could say something about it,
Yeah, Maureen, were you around? This is Bob Ruley is the new Community and Economic Development Director.
I,
Maureen is on this committee, and she's also the open space representative to the Community Preservation Committee.
Got it.
And Maureen, have you met John before? Were you at that meet and greet? He was there?
I probably saw you there, yes.
Yeah, okay, all right, okay, go on.
But what, alls I wanted to say is, I'm glad to hear that you're going to try to do something to re-educate people about the parks. Back when NRTB was in existence, we did do tours,
Mhm.
buses, we brought people from park to park. We had open houses at parks. And, we did what we could do back then, and it has been a while, without a doubt.
Yep.
It's not that the parks have been ignored completely. We really did try to do some education for the town people. And, you can't drag them there, but we can, it's always good to try it again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
And more people, it seems like, are going outside and walking and hiking and things that maybe they weren't doing as much 15 years ago or so, but it's
Right.
always good to redo it, but we have tried it.
Yeah, there was actually quite a lot of activity in the early years of NRTB. It just it didn't sustain itself, and that was all volunteers, as our committee was, but it didn't even have, it wasn't even a town committee. It was just volunteers kind of out on their own. And anyway, good point,
Well,
Maureen.
I will say to you guys, I've met with Kitty a couple times. Any information you guys have that you can share with me, any history, anything at all, it's jhart@bridgewaterma.org. That's how everyone's getting a hold of me. Just please send me stuff, send whatever you have. You won't be bothering me if you have any information, any old brochures or any information I can post or I could work with, then please send it to me.
Great.
I'll do
Alright.
the best I can.
Sounds wonderful. Okay. So, you are welcome to stay on, John. We are going to, the next item is the Conservation Committee hearing on Stells and Hart. I only put that on there just to mention that, I went to it, and there are pretty extensive detailed plans now for the phase 1 of the Stells and Hart improvements. And they're going to be, they got approval from the Concom. I'm not that familiar with what they do. No, what's the first stage? They went to the Concom did they get a notice of,
They file a notice of intent, and
yeah,
if it was approved, they would get an order of conditions, which is their permit that sets forth so did they get that yet?
well,
or
I
did
think
they get
that's what was
continued?
issued today, wasn't it, John? I'm not.
Yeah,
that
they all
familiar.
voted,
Yeah.
whatever they voted for, they all voted affirmative, so.
Yeah, that's what they voted
Yeah,
on. The
that's
call
right,
was
Bob,
to
you did too. Good,
issue
all right.
the order of condition.
That was the order, and so the conditions are basically what's set out in the plan that was submitted. Is that right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just extra erosion control and what they're responsible for
Yeah.
during construction and for cleanup. It's like standard stuff usually.
Okay, so yes, that's been approved. I actually, the one question I had is, I don't know what the timeline is for that. Do you know, Bob, what?
They needed to have this meeting tonight because they were up against a timeline on the grant. So I
Oh,
think
okay,
there's
okay.
more refinement of the plan once, it gets submitted. But the good news is the process is moving forward.
Yeah, okay.
I've spent a lot of time out there. I don't know if anyone's been out there, but if they're gonna do what they said they're gonna do, that's a very exciting project.
Oh, yeah.
It is huge. And
Yeah,
it's so much
Kitty-
potential.
Kitty mentioned at that conservation hearing that there had been trail clearing out there years ago. There were AmeriCorps people who came in on different occasions and cleared trails out there. And then over the years, they would just grow back. There just wasn't anybody to keep them up, so.
Yeah, I almost have everything cleared. I have one, whatever. I got more work to do. I've been fighting my way through the brush and yeah, I might need a GPS someday on me so people can find me if something happens, but it's a pretty cool spot, and it's gonna be wonderful if they develop it the way they say they're gonna.
All
It's gonna be a huge, Bob, it's gonna be a huge asset to that downtown area. And when it moves forward and everything they want to do, and if they could do that bridge from Town Landing, I don't know if that's possible, but it'll be huge for the downtown. They really will.
All right, well, one
Hey,
thing,
Can I just,
Yep.
I'm just curious, John, are you clearing the trail back up to High Street?
Yeah, I did High Street. I'm glad you asked that question because it was quite the battle. I
Yeah.
came down High Street and I got down to, I don't know if you know, I went to the left and I made it all the way back to the bench where I call it Mr. Bumpus's bench. And then I started going to the right. And I haven't finished it all the way to the main, the roadway on Broad Street between the guardrails. I haven't made it all the way back yet, but for the most part of every trail I have, I almost have it all done. So it's pretty challenging.
Yeah,
You got all those beer cans up, John?
You know something, the trash has not been bad at all.
No,
And there's no barrels out there either.
I know.
The people have been really good with trash. I would say that. I mean, I pick up stuff here and there, but all in all, people have taken their trash with them. I'm very shocked. Actually.
and all
Yeah,
the tires are out?
I haven't seen any tires
Really?
on the road as you go in between the guardrails. Like I said, I don't know what that actual road is called, but I haven't really seen any. I mean, not right in plain sight, but
well, you really must be scaring the pants off of them.
I don't know. At one point, that trail I said I haven't cleared yet, there was a tent out there. Midsummer, I was out there with my dog and I saw a tent and I just turned around and went back. So I briefly mentioned the Chief Del Monte, but it's on my list pretty soon to go back out and finish that one trail. And I don't know if someone was living out there or not, but there was a tent. So either way, it's a great asset. The property's awesome and I'm really excited with the direction they're going with it.
All right, well, related item to Styles and Hart, I should have put this more clearly on the agenda. I didn't, I'd forgotten about it. Michael sent me an email early in, sometime, I don't know, I was in Florida and I filed it away someplace and I just remembered it yesterday that he is asking for a support letter related to the purchasing of, there are 2 lots right on Broad Street, like where that Chinese restaurant is. And the town is submitting a grant request or application to purchase they're called the Spadea and Bonfligioli lots or something. And they want to buy those and make them, they're right on Broad Street, if you know what I mean, and those will become parking for Styles and Hart. So he asked for a letter of support from the Open Space Committee. So with your approval, I will submit one. I have a copy of what the NRTD sent in, and it's just basically what you'd say. This is part of our plans. It's good for the town. We need the parking, and so would somebody like to move that we submit a letter in support of purchase of the Broad Street parking lots?
Eileen, I don't think you can make it as a motion because you don't have it on the posted agenda.
Oh, I know. I was gonna sneak that through. I thought, Bob, you're holding me to.
No, but I think you can send the letter. I just don't think you
Don't
can
think
have
you
a
have a
vote
motion.
on it.
I thought because I had Styles and Hart on the agenda, I was gonna give myself okay, but all right, so I won't. So does anybody think we shouldn't send a letter? Does everybody agree we should send a letter? Okay, all right. Well, thank you for that clarification, Bob. I'm not sure if I'll want you on these meetings all the time or not. Okay, and now let's see, okay, this is another one, Bob, that I really like it that you're here now that I just said that though, because if you're possibly gonna be my conduit to getting some of these messages to Michael, that would be great. So he knows about this one also. Are you familiar with the Murray Needs Conservation Area?
Yes.
North Street. John, do you know that area too?
What is
Are
it?
you skipping over are you skipping over C?
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that, yeah. Yeah, no, I shouldn't do that, because we have people who, yeah, I'm sorry, yes, let's go back to C. I did miss that. All right, so Lake Nip, so if you remember, we submitted a comment on this back in June. They had submitted the developer had submitted their notice to the town of to the MIPA, to the proposed project. We submitted a comment letter focusing largely on the restaurant that they're proposing to put on the edge of the lake. So the Claremont, as of, I guess, what, in December, has it been a 30-day comment period? Melissa and Pat, yeah. They filed their draft environmental impact report. And that is now out for comments that are due on Monday. So it's huge project, as you all know. I've been away for about 3 weeks, and I did have the box, the Federal Express box, I finally opened over the last week, and it's, you know, hundreds and hundreds of pages. I've tried to zoom in on just the restaurant part because I'm thinking that that's what we will be most interested in commenting on. But Melissa, I'd love for you to kind of summarize. If I saw there was one section on that report that I didn't get to look at in great detail on what they have done in response to the MIPA comments about what needed to be in this DEIR. And I think they summarized what has changed from the original proposal. They're adding a few parking spots, which I'm not sure why, but there was some reason. But I didn't see any other major changes, but is there anything that you can point out to us that you thought was significant?
Well, I think several of the buildings are actually going to be larger than what they had said.
Okay.
And they've come forward with the idea to bank parking
Right. Yeah,
spots
I did see that. Okay.
to open up, I guess, an acre of land, but they're continuing to push everything out to the 100-foot buffer zone, to the wetlands. You know, there's a lot of talk about economic feasibility throughout the document. And yeah, I don't know, there's a lot there. It's 600 plus pages. There's a lot to read. But we just, you know, we hope people come out and comment on the document.
Mhm.
Pat, any thoughts?
No, it's just, it saddens the local people, the neighbors, simply because they're going right up to the wetland buffer. And they're saving all the wetlands as their open space, which doesn't work at all, because wetlands isn't really open space. But that's what they're going to try. So we can comment on that somehow, I guess.
Just as a clarification, I had a meeting with the Carneys yesterday. They're temporarily at least putting the restaurant on hold. Their focus right now is to get a zone change to build on the other side of the street. They want to do a 55 and older residential building, and as well as another hotel.
Right.
Unfortunately, I mean, I know wetlands aren't accessible as open space, but they do qualify as open space from a planning perspective.
That's possible, yeah.
Yeah, I think the difficult part about this is that the project, if you look at the plan, you'll see that basically every inch of space that's not the 100-foot buffer zone from the wetland is being developed. And you mentioned the hotel. That hotel, there's issues with archaeological sites over there. Everywhere you turn, there are issues with this project, and the project resides within an area of critical environmental concern. You have Lake Nipponicket, which is a great pond. There are 3 perennial streams on the property. Claremont is disputing the fact that they're perennial streams, even though they're on the USGS topographic maps. I mean, the list, like, it just goes on and on and on. And the DEIR was not necessarily written, I think, with the environment in mind, if you read through it. So I think there's an awful lot of issues here. And, you know, I think in the DEIR, they're saying that, you know, the restaurant will be developed based upon market conditions. So this has been kind of a nickel and dime approach where they're, everything's in phases. And I think we really need to look at the whole. We have the parts and then we have the whole. I think we need to look at the whole of this development and see the kind of impact it's having on the town and on our environment. I probably took up way too much time,
No,
sorry.
no, that's good, yeah. No, I went back and read through the Taunton River Watershed Council's letter, and that to me was just the most compelling piece.
Yeah.
Of just about anything, because I can write a letter complaining about the aesthetics of a restaurant on a lake and the view shed that is part of our open space plan is being ruined and that sort of thing. But I can't say anything about stormwater effects and all the things that the town river watershed. And we don't have any expertise. I mean, maybe Nicole, maybe you have expertise on that, but I mean, they talk about the fact that the standards, the state standards, like 80% of whatever, the 80% rule about whatever you have to collect or remove or whatever, that the NIP is already experiencing eutrophication in different areas and that the standards aren't adequate. And it is one of those things where you think, yeah, I mean, we know that. We can look at everything that's happening in our world and we know the standards are not adequate. Everything is, environmental free fall. That's my perspective anyway. But then to have to nitpick through each one of these things, each one of these projects and each one of these buildings and each one of these issues on its own, they just pick apart like it's you don't have to look at the big picture. You just look at whether they're meeting the letter of, regulation 638 part B or something, and then we're good to go. So that's, I don't know, that's the thing that's frustrating. I think you write these really rational letters and what you really want to do is scream, stop, this just is crazy, but anyway.
Well, I guess I'm wondering if if our potential angle could potentially be trying to work with the developer to find ways that they could go above and beyond and acknowledge the sensitive ecology and hydrology here and, potentially try to work with the town. Because there's probably not much more we can do if they're doing everything they can to meet the standards. Sometimes and quite frequently it does happen. I work with developers all the time that it's, usually a different type of developer. It's a lot of universities and folks that have a vested interest in like the long-term, stewardship of their place. But that said, I'm wondering if our angle could potentially be making some recommendations that maybe they would work with us on for preserving more trees, for maintaining certain habitat corridors, for maybe doing some more sensitive work in the areas of the stream. So I guess I'm just wondering if we could, look at the plans and help maybe come up with some ideas.
Idea.
The thing, Nicole, is that I think you're the only one that has the expertise to do that. And can you really read through that 600-page document? And it's just.
I don't know if I need to though, because I know who's putting it together. I know it will.
What they're, yeah.
I'm not gonna
What
find
the
anything.
standards are, and that's what they're
Yeah,
doing.
I think it's kind of moving beyond that, doing
Yeah.
a little, like finding some ideas to go above and beyond.
Yeah.
Potentially, that's not super cost consuming.
Yeah. Well,
Can I
my
just make a
impression-
suggestion?
Yeah, yes, Bob,
So,
but
so procedurally, at the next town council meeting, council member Gallagher is going to put forth a request to allow them a zone change to allow for the 55 and older.
right.
That will get referred to the planning board, and the planning board will make a recommendation back. I think to Nicole's point that, having some dialogue, working with the planning board, because they're going to be reviewing this and, kind of opening the door to having more cooperation or input is kind of the right approach. I mean, I have a meeting with them next week and primarily to say, just sat through a painful meeting with them. Not that they're, it was painful on many sides, but, they feel like they're doing the world a favor by doing what they're doing. And I mean, their projects are good. They have some economic benefit, but I agree, it shouldn't be to the exclusion of the environment and the surrounding area. So, I mean, I think, I was brought in to bring a different perspective as to how Bridgewater moves forward. So I'm happy to carry that message to them next week, but I think that, participation with the planning board through the review process is also a way to kind of keep their feet to the fire.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
true. That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, you have some leverage in this.
Yeah, and we've heard that in the past that with,
Yeah.
there have been some, the planning board does a good job to, try to get some mitigation put into projects like large projects like this. And I know it was a long time ago, but there have been instances where, like the ball was dropped and, there's been like a development that was supposed to have improved that playground over on Cherry Street and that kind of didn't happen. So I think you're right, holding the accountability and the reminder would also be helpful to kind of follow it through the whole process. But 100%,
I mean, I
I think
think-
getting at the table up front to let them understand, the concerns for the environment.
Well, I mean, we have an environmental planner in my office and
Yep.
you should utilize him in this conversation. But in my past life in Warren, we had similar situations and it was my policy that if the planning board was approving something with conditions, that one of the conditions are if you don't meet those conditions, then your permit gets pulled or you don't get a permit. So, I mean, I think we need that extra layer of accountability just so, a developer doesn't think, okay, I got through that and I'm going to do whatever I want to do.
Yeah, it seems to me something that I've read in their DEIR, or maybe it was in the Taunton River, that basically they haven't been complying with what they were supposed to be doing over the last however many years they've been there. Is that true, Melissa or Pat? Have you read that in?
I know there.
I think it wasn't specifically in the water analysis that they hadn't done some of the mitigation or stormwater or whatever, that they aren't meeting up to what
Right.
they were required to do before.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but I can't be any more specific than that.
Yeah, but I think, if you identify those things as it goes to the next step for the planning board, I mean, that's something that the planning board can put some leverage on, if in fact they choose to support the zone change to allow that, the
Yeah.
condition is that you fulfill all these other obligations that you either haven't fulfilled or
Yeah.
stopped fulfilling.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Well, and who would do that, Bob? I mean, is that, who, is that Public Works in the town that has to enforce those or item under,
I mean, the
where's-
planning board can make
Planning
those
board.
conditions as part of their approval.
No, I mean,
Yeah,
the existing conditions that haven't been complied with, who follows through on?
Oh.
I mean, I think that we can as the town. I mean,
Yeah, we
I'll
can,
get with
yeah.
my staff, with both Shane and Steve. Steve's gonna be out tomorrow, but we can kind of talk through it and I can have Steve kind of look through from an environmental standpoint, what's been done and what hasn't been done. Again, I'm not beating up on the developer too, because there is some benefit for those projects, but
Yeah.
I don't. I have to be fair to both sides and, if one side isn't fulfilling their obligation, then it's not fair to the other side.
Yeah, yeah, I think that would be a great place to start, is just finding out if, how they have maintained what they've built and whether whatever the reasons, somebody has expressed reasons for concern that they haven't done what they were supposed to be doing. And if that's the case, it seems like, this would be the time to exercise that leverage.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine the deficiencies are all resulting from, obviously they're creating an extreme amount of stormwater runoff there because
Mhm.
based on the amount of impervious surface area on
Right.
roofs and parking lots. So, typically that's the number one cause of pollutants and nitrogen going into the water. So I haven't looked at the plans in terms of what kind of stormwater controls or BMPs they have, but I mean, it's, somebody can, again, I will meet with my staff on it on Monday and see, what we can find out.
Yeah, and I really would recommend that if you can read one thing to support the environmental point of view, it's the Taunton River Watershed Council's letter.
Oh, that's right.
It's also from Serpide, Southeast Regional Planning Organization. Bill Napolitano signed it as well. So it's somebody there with some real expertise and knowledge of what is out there wrote that letter, and that was what sort of just got me to think, oh yeah, how, who knows?
I will say, I didn't realize what a big document it was until I was going to just randomly print it. And then I saw that it was like 888 pages.
Yeah, I was gonna do that too, and I called, as Pat suggested, I called up the consultant and had it sent, and yeah, it was heavy lift, literally. So,
Yeah.
okay, well, that's great, Bob, because I mean, I actually had Melissa and I met with Jennifer about this project. Well, 6 months ago, was it before the comments were due, Melissa? Because we just wanted to express our concern and find out more. I felt that I was not familiar with how this worked at the town level. I mean, so my understanding is that negotiations happen, that, a developer will come forward with something and that things get adjusted and chipped away at. And our hope was that maybe the restaurant at least becomes something that they give up on because, they're looking for something else.
It's a kabuki dance.
Yes, exactly, right. And that's what Jennifer was not willing to acknowledge that, but I'm sure it's the truth. And the one thing we did ask, we suggested then is that we think that, and our recommendation will be that the area right there where the restaurant is, that the town should acquire that property and make it a park. If you've ever been down to that boat dock area, it's a boat dock, but I've gone kayaking there, and there's not any place, there's not even a picnic table. You can get in the water and get out. There's nothing there for any kind of a public amenity for the lake. And that it would make sense. It's a very small parcel of land, and it's where there's the house that's there right now that will be torn down for the restaurant. But if the town would be able to buy that and just turn it into a very small pocket park, that
Right.
would serve the people who are going down to Lake Nipponicket. It would serve the people living across the street as well. And so we had suggested that, and Jennifer said that Michael did bring that up to them, and they said they're not interested in selling. But, that's now.
That's right. Times change, and we want to keep John busy.
Yep.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. So anyway, yeah, we put a few, we put a few feelers out there about how to approach this, but I think maybe with Nicole's comments and your comment as well, that maybe now's the time for us to start working directly with the planning board in some way, or at least getting a better sense, because I know just from watching the hearings on what the project for Route 18 and on Bedford Street, which you probably heard about, that the planning board did not approve, that, there was obviously a real dance that was going on there. So I suspect we'll be dancing this project for a while.
It's a beautiful thing when it works, but
Yeah, right,
you
yeah.
got to make it work.
All right, so anyway, I guess I would like everybody's approval for me to go ahead and submit a letter on the 23rd. That will be basically what we submitted last time in terms of commenting on the restaurant. That is, and I think what I would add in at this point is that we think that the town should acquire it, and that's irrelevant to this stage, but just that it doesn't belong. We do not want a restaurant at that point, so Lauren, Nicole, Maureen, are you in favor of that? Okay. All right. Anybody else? Melissa or Pat, you want to add anything else? I'm sure you guys are working hard on an extensive comment letter.
On a response. You know, the only thing I
Yeah,
wanted to
response.
mention that Nicole brought up was, you know, the developer could consider land to be placed in conservation and he'd get a huge tax credit. So that's
That,
one,
the lake land, you mean the land, that lot?
or any of the land on the other side
Oh,
that
okay, right,
needs to be protected.
yeah,
There are archaeological sites of findings over
right,
there.
yeah, yeah. All right. So if nothing else on that, let's move on to the North Street property. I just wanted to mention this. If you remember, this is the property where the slaughterhouse used to be. And it's for sale, and it includes the corner lot on North Street and Pleasant Street. There's a house there. It includes one other lot, and then it includes the commercial building, although that's not zoned commercial, it's grandfathered. And then I think the entire property is about, I want to say 8 to 10 acres. I haven't looked at it since our last meeting, but I brought, David Hansen was the person who raised this with me, and I think other people, I'm sure, wouldn't it be nice to purchase that property to protect the Murray Needs conservation land? Because right now Murray Needs bumps right up to the it's the Den Benson. The Den Benson is the name of the people who own it. And so if there's, you know, you could put a house, if you put a street in there and with houses, et cetera, or apartments or whatever, it's going to really undercut the value of the Murray Needs property, which is just going to be that fairly small field, abutting more housing. And just the whole idea of kind of an agricultural district right there with the Hanson Farm people wanting to preserve their property, which includes that North Street, Pleasant Street lot on the opposite side of this Den Benson property. And if that could all be acquired and preserved as an agricultural conservation area. And David Hansen actually had a couple of good ideas that I did pass on to Michael, that if we could sell off, if the town couldn't purchase all of that property, couldn't afford to purchase or didn't want to, that you could sell off the frontage on North Street, because there's already 2 houses there, and then maybe build another house or 2 in that area, and then preserve the property in back, which butts up to the wooded area that's part of the Stiles and Hart. And then also David Hansen has land back there too that I think he intends to put in conservation land. So it would make kind of a wildlife corridor right there. But I mentioned that to Michael. He seemed to be quite favorably inclined towards the whole thing. He agreed that it sounded like a good project. At the time, he wanted to wait until the new town councilors were elected, because Jennifer had told me that he wanted to talk with some of the councilors, get some feedback on it before we started pushing too hard on it. So I don't know if anything has happened on that in terms of Michael moving anything forward, but I did, when I came back from Florida last week, I went to see Dave Hansen, because there's a wealth of information. And he said they have received an offer on the property, he understands. So, you know, I don't know if I was hoping that he had gone and talked to Mrs. Den Benson and told her that the town might be interested in it. And we were kind of hoping that maybe she would speak with somebody in the town first, but then it ended up coming up on the listing. And now he says, so I don't know, I haven't talked with him since last week, how far along this is, but I just really wish we could just take the opportunity to at least reach out to her, because no one from the town has talked with her. We thought it was more appropriate for David to do that. They've been friends with the family for their whole lives. And and so now that he's telling me this, I started to write an email to Michael about this today, but.
I can add it to the list for Monday and ask Michael to, reach out to you on that.
Yes,
I
okay,
mean, my only concern would be if they have an offer that, depending on what it is, I mean, how quickly the town can,
oh, I know, yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah, well, that was my concern too, like, oh gosh, is it too late already?
but I'll certainly add that
Yeah,
to the list,
yeah. and I
right
mean,
under
at
the
least, you know,
category of you don't want me at these meetings.
No, I think I'm gonna love having you here, if you can do it. I mean, you're new, you're probably gonna be overwhelmed with the number of meetings and other probably more important issues at some point, but, yeah, so, I mean, I thought, I don't know, if Michael, if somebody from the town could just call and say, gee, are you going through with this? Gee, we would like to talk with you. Can you give us some time or something? I don't know, but anyway. So I think that's my only update on that.
I'm gonna excuse myself now, so I think
If
my
you
work
think
is
you have a
done.
long enough list.
it's all good. I mean, that's what I'm here
Oh,
for.
that's great. Yeah, I mean, usually I go away from these meetings just thinking like, all right, now who can I talk to actually get something moving, How do I get a message to whoever? But you're gonna be my messenger, Bob. I'm so happy
Okay.
to meet you.
Likewise. Good night, everybody.
All right, bye.
Look forward to meeting you in person.
All right, so the other thing is our annual report is due on Monday as well, the Open Space Committee annual report, but I'm not gonna worry about this too much. Last year I got it in on time. And Marilee sent out the notice of these annual reports due for this year, and she said they didn't even publish last year's because so few committees even submitted a report. So I decided I'm being an overachiever and I'm just gonna take my time on getting this annual report in. I'm gonna worry more about the comment letter on the NIP instead, but I will get the annual report drafted sometime, hopefully before our next meeting, and I'll send it out to you, for all of you to look at, and we'll get it in late. All right. And then the last item was, I was just gonna mention that the community development director had been hired. I didn't know that we were gonna have him here, so that was really great. All right, our next meeting is February 16th. 7 p.m., same time, same place. That's my birthday. And I'll be here nonetheless. I can't think of any place I'd rather be.
What day was your birthday, Maureen? I mean, Eileen?
Our next meeting date, February 16th.
Oh, February 16th.
February, yes.
Yeah.
So we have to do
Mine's-
something
mine's the
celebratory, like
What did you say, Melissa?
something celebratory, like raise a glass or
Right,
do
yeah,
some, I don't know, balloons, I don't know.
yeah.
something.
Claremont's Claremont's seen the light. That'll be my gift. All right.
It was nice to meet everybody.
Yeah,
Nice
nice to you. Thank you for coming, John. I will hope that you can be here regularly. That would be great too. So,
I will do my best, absolutely.
yeah, and I will let you know if we take a visit anywhere, take a walk.
Please do.
Okay.
All right, good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.